He's gone. He's finally gone. He's gone. Yes! Oh my God, he's gone. He's gone forever. Goodbye, Andrew Vaughn. It's the CHGO White Sox postgame show. CHGO White Sox post-game show presented by Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Make sure you download their app and use code CHGO365 when you sign up at $5. Get $150 in bonus bets. Welcome into Studio B of our CHGO offices. Happy Father's Day. I'm Sean Anderson, being produced today by Joey Christopoulos.
Shout out to all the daddies out there.
And all the daddies, all the dads and daddies. I think there's a difference. I don't know the difference, but I heard there's a difference. 2-1. Sox are swept in Arlington, Texas by the Texas Rangers. Some close games, but no cigar. Sox lose 2-1 today, 5-4 in 11 on Saturday, and 3-1 on Friday. But the biggest thing that we're talking about is the trade that happens on Friday morning. Andrew Vaughn is sent to Milwaukee. Aaron Civale is acquired by the Chicago White Sox. Milwaukee also sends a little bit of cash to offset the fact that Civale made about like $1.5 million more than Vaughn. I think the Sox end up eating about $1 million in cash, but they are able to acquire a starter that can pitch for them at the major league level, and he pitched for them today. Gave him an opportunity to win, but again, no runs for the White Sox, which is the biggest bummer today. Let's jump into Andrew Vaughn, because that is the big story. We'll jump into Friday, Saturday, and Sunday's games later on. We'll talk about Brooks Baldwin as well, but let's jump into the trade. Vaughn sent to Milwaukee, Aaron Civale and cash sent to the Sox. Civale makes his first start for the Sox today. Does decent in 5 innings, but again, not enough to get the win for the White Sox. Vaughn was acquired by Milwaukee, but he still stays in AAA. So Milwaukee acquires him, and they're still like,
seasoning.
We're
Just
fine.
A little seasoning.
We're okay. In 15 games with Charlotte, Vaughn had 12 hits, 10 walks, 10 strikeouts, a 2.11 average, a 328 on base percentage, and a 351 slugging percentage. I think he grounded into 3 double plays as well. It just looked like Andrew Vaughn. And you know what? Andrew Vaughn might have a hot week every now and then, and he'll have some really, really, really cold weeks. I thought it was very funny that Tim Elko recently had a game with 2 walks, and I just wanted to look up, like, hey, when was the last time Vaughn had 2 walks in a game? He had 1 in 2025. He had 1 in 2024. And then he had, 3 in 2023, but all of them were at the beginning of April. So truly, since, April 13th, 2023 to his end of his White Sox career, he had 2 games with 2+ walks in, over 170 games. It just was a brutal time watching Andrew Vaughn. They draft him in 2019. They draft him with the 3rd overall pick in the 2019 draft. Let's go through the top 5 picks for the Chicago White Sox since
we have to?
Since the Frank Thomas era. Oh, let's do it. Hagen Smith was drafted last year in 2024. It's too early to tell with him, so we'll move on. Next, Andrew Vaughn, a career WAR of -0.4 in 610 games, a 248 average, a 709 OPS. Yuck. 2018 4th overall pick. They take Nick Madrigal, and I know you might be saying yuck as well, which is totally fine, but 3.2 career WAR in 285 games. He had a higher batting average, and the OPS kind of similar. 709 for Vaughn, 667 for Madrigal. Madrigal was terrible, and no one was afraid to say it. It took way too long for people to say that Vaughn just sucks, okay? And it really was clear last year that once he got to first base, he just sucked. It wasn't an outfield issue. It wasn't a stamina issue. It was just that this is not even a player athletic enough to play first base and not even athletic enough to be a 118 or above hitter. I mean, he struggled to even be above the 100 mark when it came to OPS plus. After Madrigal, 2016, 110. Zach Collins is drafted out of Miami, negative 1.1 WAR in 152 games for Collins. 2015, with the 8th overall pick, they take Carson Fulmer, a negative 0.2 WAR player in his 22 games. With Carlos Rodon, they take him 3rd in 2014. That's the good one. They let him go, but hey, 20 WAR for Carlos Rodon in his White Sox career. Then 2008, Gordon Beckham, selected 8 overall. He's in the broadcast booth. We love Gordon Beckham. 5.6 career WAR, 1,069 games for Gordon Beckham, a 237 average, a 667 OPS. If you were wondering, did Nick Madrigal and Gordon Beckham have the same OPS? Yes. They did, funnily enough. And then you have to go all the way to 1990. So, I mean, you can't complain too much because the Sox were like always mid, always picking around 15 in the MLB draft, which is, a little iffy. But from 2008, then all the way to 1990, with the 4th overall pick, they take Alex Fernandez. 1989, the 7th overall pick, they take Frank Thomas. Is he good? 1988, with the 10th pick, they take Robin Ventura.
It's a good run.
He was a manager. In 1987, with the 5th overall pick, they take Jack McDowell. So just a really tough, long run of terrible picks for the White Sox in the top 10. And the biggest thing that sticks out is the White Sox avoidance of taking prep players in the first round. Before Vaughn, before, I guess, Colson in 2021, the last prep player the White Sox took was Courtney Hawkins in 2012. And before that, in a non-supplementary round, the White Sox last first rounder that was a prep pick, Chris Honell in 2001 out of Providence. Woof. And
future ace.
You just look in that 2019 draft. I think he's making a comeback. We could do an episode on Chris Honell. I think he's making a comeback currently at the age of like 42. He was like, you know what? I'll show my kids that I used to be a pro. And then he hit 96 or something. He's like, should I be trying this baseball thing again? But then you look at that 2019 draft. Sox take Vaughn 1-3. Riley Green goes 1-5. CJ Abrams goes 1-6. They both have over 8 career WAR, both prep bats. And then 116, Corbin Carroll with over 10 WAR. I mean, there were opportunities to take young, moldable prep bats, and they avoided it for a very long time because they got burned by Courtney Hawkins. And it was just the absolute wrong route. You see that Colson was like a top 10 prospect in baseball. I know he's had his setbacks. The comeback might be bigger than the setback. But you look at the reasons to take prep over college players, especially when you're that high up. I mean, the player that goes before Andrew Vaughn is Bobby Witt. And you just see the immense amount of talent at such an early age. Sometimes, especially when you're that high up, I think it's worth taking a prep bet. And they've just been really allergic to it for a long time, a whole 9-year drought there.
I wanted to ask you, Sean, you're kind of like walking right into it, so maybe that is the answer. But if me and you were on the golf course in 30 years and a young caddy comes up and hands you your driver on the front tee and says, Sean, what happened with Andrew Vaughn? What is the lesson we could learn with Andrew Vaughn? What is the most simplest way that you could possibly say it? Is it the White Sox not going after prep stars? Is it going after a hit profile that didn't fit the physical size and stature? What is it at the end of the day, do you think it is? What is the life lesson learned here about the end of the Andrew Vaughn era?
We didn't talk about this, and I don't think we can zoom in, but I said, why didn't Vaughn work? 1, 2, 3. So I have 3 reasons why he didn't. First, BDams92, our guy, saying, thank you, Sean and CHGO, for all that you do. Can't wait to see Brooks Baldwin back in the lineup against the Cardinals. Woohoo. Appreciate the super chat there from our guy, BDams.
Yeah, BDams.
And we'll see him soon. Hopefully we got a CHGO event. He's always out at all of our CHGO events, whether it's Bulls or Sox, so I appreciate him. Brooks didn't have a great game today. I was surprised to see that he was called up so early. We'll talk a little bit about Brooks after. I thought they would give him a little bit more seasoning in Charlotte in the outfield. We talked he played 19 games, 10 of them in the outfield. I thought that he'd get a little bit more seasoning there, but they've decided that Brooks Baldwin is ready again. And at this point, it's like, why are we watching Vinny Capra? Why did we watch Josh Palacios for so long? Let's watch Dominic Fletcher, even if he sucks. Let's watch Colson Montgomery, even if he sucks. Let's just have the kids play. I think I'm just all for all of that now. So if we have Baldwin up, let's just call up Colson as well. Why not? Anyways, let's get back into Vaughn. Appreciate it, B-Dams. Vaughn, 3 reasons why it didn't work. 1, he wasn't the athlete that we all thought. Right? First base, oriented or first base contact orient is just a bad idea, especially when you're picking top 5. You want your first baseman, even if they can't even catch a ball over there like Kyle Schwarber, to be able to hit 30, 35, 40 home runs. I mean, it was a struggle for Vaughn to even reach 20 home runs. It was the wrong idea. They loved the the college production from Andrew Vaughn, but when you have a 500 on base percentage in the Pacific 12, and it was the Pac-12 because he's that freaking old, it's not the SEC. It's not the upper echelon of college baseball. And I just feel very remiss that they went after a guy that, the contact seemed undoubtable, undeniable. This guy was going to hit high 280s, and, you just think that the power would come along. But with his lack of true athleticism, his lack of size, that contact didn't go past 275. And when he was going 275, it was going the opposite way. The second reason he failed, he didn't walk. Since 2021, the 13th worst walk rate among 111th qualified hitters. Since 2023, Andrew Vaughn has the 20th worst walk rate among 166 qualified hitters. So not only was the contact and power approach just misorientated, he wasn't pulling the ball enough on a fly consistently enough, he just wasn't also walking. Like, he was a very negative player. If he wasn't striking out, he was hitting a ground ball or he was hitting a fly ball the other way that, would not get down. He was brutal. He was absolutely brutal up there at the plate. You never saw a refined plate approach from Vaughn. And then 3, 150 batted ball events that were pop-ups or flyouts to the opposite field. On fly balls, pop-outs, and line drives to the opposite field, he had the 84th worst slugging out of 127 qualified hitters. And I believe that's since 2023. He's just wasn't the bat that we thought he was going to be. You look at OJ's glove saying, I really wish we had one consistently impactful bat in the lineup. We need our new Abreu. That was supposed to be Vaughn. That was the whole thing, was that he was going to be so consistent. He was too consistent to fail, that he had a 500 on-base percentage, that he had nearly a 400 average in college. But when he's being assisted by a metal bat and he's that tiny, you think, honestly, the biggest thing that this signifies, especially 2019, was the lack of insightful data that I think major league teams, especially the White Sox, had into the college game. I think post-COVID, we've seen a true growth of analytics, but also just measurements from those games, bat speed, launch angle, etc. And you're truly being able to tell how good these athletes are in game. And I think if we had more data with that from Vaughn, we might have been able to sniff some of this out, but didn't happen. This is probably a sign of like the old drafting ways before Mike Shirley really figured it out. Because, you look at their past picks, post Vaughn, they've done pretty good. Garrett Crochet has gotten a ton for the Chicago White Sox.
Did all right.
Colson Montgomery, not up yet, but also not a failure.
INC.
We'll see. Noah Schultz now up to AAA. We'll talk about that. That's been surprising, but it feels like they've fixed something with Noah Schultz. They've gotten rid of his cutter. We'll talk about what Brian Bannister had to say. And we'll talk about Jacob Gonzalez later in this game, too. Jacob Gonzalez has started using a torpedo bat in the last 26 games. 319 average, 371 on base percentage, and a 543 slugging percentage. And you look at the past picks, Hagen goes 5 as well. That seemed a little, conservative from them. I feel like that one was a little bit iffy because there was Caglianone right behind Hagen Smith. But even you look at Jacob Gonzalez, that one felt like a little bit of a safe pick there, but he's been able to start hitting in Birmingham, and you think that he'll be at least, at worst, Vinny Capra and Jacob Amaya, guys that at least made the major leagues. I mean, you could look at Courtney Hawkins, Keenan Barnum, Keenan Walker, Jared Mitchell, Kyle McCullough, Tyler Lumsden, Chris Honell, Wyatt Allen, Jason Stum, Brian West, Rob Purvis. Remember Rob Purvis back in 1999?
No Vinny Capra.
No Vinny Capra. But all those guys, first rounders that never made it to the majors. So I think Gonzalez at least will make it to the major leagues. We got 27 people watching and 9 viewers. Hit that thumbs up button. We'll talk more about Vaughn. We'll talk more about Civale. We'll talk more about these 3 losses to the Rangers. We'll talk a little bit about Ryan Noda, Brooks Baldwin, and Jacob Gonzalez, and some Will Venable stuff as well. Hit that thumbs up button, and we'll get to some of your comments after the break here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by Bet365. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping wherever you are in Illinois. They're Illinois' favorite dispensary for a reason. They have you covered in the city, River North, Wrigleyville, whether you're in South Illinois, in Champaign, whether you're in North Illinois, in South Beloit. I'm personally fond of the Elmwood Park location. I like to pick up Uncle Arnie's little beverage mix because, you know, it'll have a little spindrift. Have a little bit of lemonade, have a little bit of Uncle Arnie's, and it's a nice way to drift off to sleep. If you're looking for some help too, they have experts to guide you through your first cannabis experience. And if you are new, visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. For existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Lab branded item. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Bet365 and check them out during the NBA Finals. We have a new promo dropping exclusively for the finals that offers customers the chance to win the jackpot up to $100,000 in bonus bets with the first play fortune. To enter for a chance to win a share of the $100,000 jackpot in bonus bets, you must place a three-leg same game parlay where the 3 legs are player to score the first basket, player to get the first assist, and player to get the first rebound. Only bets consisting of those exact 3 legs will be eligible. Log in and place your bet or sign up. Use the code CHGO365, deposit $10, and place your 3-leg same-game parlay for a minimum of $1. Must be 21 plus. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. In-app only. Terms and conditions apply. Opt-in required. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on the Bet365 CHGO White Sox postgame show, whatever the moment. It's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Let's go to the comments real quick. We got some people jumping in about Vaughn. Soxhap saying Vaughn was one of those guys I thought was like a psychopath about the game and a hitting student, but turns out he just didn't have any personality. I assumed he was so straight-faced and boring because he cared about the game so much. BPG saying Vaughn wasn't willing to put in the work, and Eric saying Vaughn never had to earn a spot. He had it handed to him when they wanted to move on from Abreu. Was he killing the ball and cranking out homers in the minors? Not that I'm aware of. Well, I mean, he was good in the minors. It's not like he was bad, and he was called up immediately to be put into left field because they thought that they could fill out the holes that they did have in left field. So you're not wrong that he didn't have to earn first base because once they were ready to move on from Abreu, he was just given the first base job. So I hear what you're saying, and I also don't hear what you're saying because I think he would have done well at the minor leagues because like he's a good baseball player. He apparently listens to his dad a ton, and his dad is his swing coach. And I think that is the thing that's truly holding back Andrew Vaughn. He probably listens to his father a little bit too much. His father's able to get him here. Happy Father's Day, by the way, to Mr. Vaughn. It seems like he was a little bit too strict about what he was doing. Like he got here for a reason, and that's why he's doing it. And you just never saw him attack the ball. I mean, that's the one big thing with Gavin Sheets. He's now got 12 homers in San Diego, and you see him attacking the ball. His average bat speed is up by 2 miles per hour. His fast swing rate is through the roof. He is attacking balls. He is able to hit the ball to the pull side with force. Andrew Vaughn seemed like he wanted to hit the ball back up the middle every single time, which is great in a batting cage, but you're not in a batting cage. Look at Edgar Caro. Edgar Caro, so far, it hasn't been all pretty with him at the plate, but a lot of times, and he almost did it today, just Corey Seager was standing right up the middle where he hit it. Caro does a great job of trying to hit him where they ain't. And Caro did a great job today of hitting it right back up the middle. He's done a great job of hitting it the opposite way as a right-hander. I think that, you didn't see a change from Vaughn. Eric saying he didn't prove it in the minors. Let me just check this out first.
So while you're doing that,
in the
too,
minors, I got it here. Sorry. In the minors, 2019, 278, 384, 449. He had 6 homers in 55 games, and then 2019, 2019 is when he was in college. But yeah, I mean, only 55 games. You feel like he should have gotten more seasoning down there, but also you have COVID that ends up just screwing him up a bit. There is no 2020 minor league season, so he's kind of just has to have a complete year of a development shelved. So it's tough to say that he didn't really deserve it because he was one of the 26 best White Sox players in the 2021 season. That's just more of an issue on Jerry Reinsdorf and Rick Hahn, and we're getting into old issues that they should have spent real money on a left fielder in 2021, and they didn't. And instead, they decided to give it to Vaughn, who I don't think was he didn't not prove it in the minors. He 30 walks, 38 strikeouts, he 17 doubles, 6 home runs, 449 slugging to a 278 average. I mean, that's like a nearly 200 ISO, isolated power. He showed what you wanted to see. It was just in a small 55-game sample. You have the coronavirus strike out the 2020 year. It's more of the fact that the White Sox rushed him up to the majors in 2021. And I don't think he didn't deserve it. It's just, it's bad. It's bad ownership, and it's bad general managing.
Well, yeah, and look, and even if they did, I mean, we're all trying to get to the bottom of the case of what happened to Andrew Vaughn. So I think there's a lot of valid reasons or rationales that we're not going to necessarily also categorize as excuses of whether it was being him forced to play left field, as you mentioned, getting called up a little bit too early. But let's be honest, over the last 2 years, he has clearly regressed. He has had plenty of opportunities and plenty of plate appearances to create himself a little bit of a personality or niche as an offensive hitter. And all that we've seen is just a regression to the mean. And even if you want to throw the excuse out there as well, no one in the lineup was really there to protect him over this last time or whatever, you just countered that perfectly with what Caro, Chase Mydroff, and some of these younger guys are doing just on an at-bat-to-at-bat wise level.
Well, and I think part of what Sox Tap was saying too, no personality, it seemed robotic. It seemed very much like Andrew Vaughn was doing what the Andrew Vaughn machine was programmed to do. It didn't feel like this was somebody that was a living, breathing organism. I don't want to be, rude to him. He's a person with celebrating Father's Day today down in AAA. But it didn't spark for him. And we thought that this would be the heir to Paul Konerko, Frank Thomas, Jose Abreu, and he was nowhere near that. And that was obviously too high of expectations for him. But again, when you're picking top 3 like this, you have to make sure it works. And they took a gamble on a pretty iffy guy. I would be surprised if an Andrew Vaughn hitter got selected in the top 5 of any future major league draft, because there's nothing really that exciting about him. He didn't look like a major league level athlete. He looked like a good baseball player.
Right, but if you remember, the reports on him when they drafted him was that he had an incredibly high floor, and he had a hit tool, and he had incredible control of the zone. Yeah. White Sox, unfortunately, and Andrew Vaughn 0 for 3 on all those counts.
Well, I mean, the floor isn't wrong, because again, he only had 55 minor league games, and if you gave me 55 minor league games and then made me take 2,500 plate appearances, I would probably have an OPS plus worse than 97. He was an average major league hitter. The issue is that he played first base /DH. You could be an average major league hitter and play good defense at shortstop, or play good defense at second base and be a worthwhile player. He just wasn't worthwhile for the position that he ended up playing. We'll talk about what the Sox got in return for Civale later on. Let's get into Friday's game. Sox lose 3-1. Adrian Hauser was on the bump. 5 innings pitched for Hauser, 6 hits, 3 earned runs allowed, 4 walks, 2 Ks. Hauser sits with a 2.15 ERA on the season with the Sox. It's been impressive for Hauser. I mean, this is what I more expected of Hauser, and the fact that still, he only gives up 3 earned runs, a position where the Sox could have possibly won this game or tied this game if they had more offense. You can't be frustrated with Hauser's giving you. I would just say, though, a lot of people love trade. Trade. Very popular word right now. Don't inflate this to be that Adrian Hauser's now someone's third starter. Adrian Hauser with a 2.15 ERA is good, but the FIP is fairly high. This is somebody that I feel can get touched up. You see more walks than strikeouts. I think that could be something that you start to see creep in a little bit more now that there's new tape on skinny Adrian Hauser. So I wouldn't get too amped on what the White Sox could get for Hauser. They might be able to get something, but I think it'd be less than what they got for Tanner Banks, which was William Bergoya, who looks really good, but also that was I think the Phillies' 18th prospect. I think for a Hauser, you'd be getting maybe a 20th prospect, or maybe you get a 17th and a 26th prospect. It's not going to be much. You might get something, but don't get your hopes about Hauser. Don't get too, out of line, because they might see Hauser as a cheap guy to get them to the end of the year. They need innings, so Hauser could be that person if the juice isn't worth the squeeze come trade deadline. Saturday, Sox lose 5-4 in 11 innings. It was a bullpen-ish day. Vassell starts. He goes 4 innings, allows 2 hits, 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. His season ERA has been 1.99. We'll probably see him for the rest of the year. I think the Sox will want to keep him at least in the organization. He is a Rule 5 pick. Wasn't their Rule 5 pick, but I believe the Yankees picked him in the Rule 5 draft, then released him. Sox picked him up. So far, I mean, it's been June. He's got a fairly high FIP. I think that this isn't something that you should be expecting from Mike Vassell, but just kind of gets the job done. He's just been getting the job done. I wouldn't hate having options for this guy, for the ability to add him to the bullpen if you need him next year. It seems like a Schuster-like arm, and Schuster was very valuable for a very bad team last year for the White Sox. Bottom of the third, here's the big moment for Vassell. Langford gets hit by a pitch. Seager walked. Berger walked. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Vassell fakes Josh Jung, and he is able to strike him out. El Duque Hernandez style, gets out of that inning. Nothing after 3. Then in the top of the 4th, Teal and Robert both with RBIs in the top of the 4th against Jacob DeGrom, giving the Sox a 2-0 lead. And then in the bottom of the 7th, this is where things get a little bit iffy. Grant Taylor comes in versus the top of the order. Sox are protecting a 2-1 lead. First batter, Wyatt Langford hits a single. 6 pitches from Grant Taylor, no breaking balls. Seager, 7-pitch walk. He's been walking, I think, now in 10 straight games. So, giving up a walk to Seager, not something I'm too frustrated with Grant Taylor about. But then with Seager and Langford on first and second, Semien hits an RBI double, throws 2 cutters back-to-back. Second cutter is hit by Semien into play, drives in a run, and then he strikes out Jung, Berger, and Garcia. However, the Rangers are able to take the lead on a wild pitch. When he was going up against Garcia, got Garcia into an 0-2 count, bounced a curveball, got away from Caro, and the runner on third, Langford, was able to score on that wild pitch in an 0-2 count. I want to see more sliders and curveballs from Grant Taylor. I think people are really amped up for that 4-seam fastball. He's got to do a little bit better of a job maybe hiding that pitch a little bit. It is his best pitch, but I would like to see starting off the count with a little bit more of curveballs, maybe slider, cutter, something, just throw them off the hint of that 4-seam fastball, because it seems that's what hitters are really ramped up for. Then in the top of the 8th, Tauchman drives in Caro. You got a tie game, but the bottom of the 8th, Smith scores from second on an error. Mydroth was trying to get the ball out of his glove quickly to get the runner at first. The ball and the throw was slightly off. It hits Noda's glove, gets away from him. Runner's able to score from second. Rangers take the lead, but then in the top of the 9th, Kyle Teal with the single, and then Michael A. Taylor with the 2-out RBI double. Then no action until the bottom of the 11th when Adolis Garcia hits an RBI single, walk-off Tyler Alexander. But a weird game altogether. Will Venable got himself into a little bit of trouble because in the bottom of the 10th, they did a double switch, which eliminated the whenever Alexander came in, they did a double switch and effectively got rid of the designated hitter. And in the bottom of the 10th, Tyler Alexander, with 2 outs and a runner, I believe, on first and second, had to go up there and hit, which is just a terrible look. And Venable, after the game, gives his team a ton of credit. Would have also liked him to say, hey, maybe that one's on me, just because you put your team in a really difficult situation where you're taking away the designated hitter and you don't have anyone to send up there for Tyler Alexander. I think the whole thought process was, well, we don't want to use anybody but Alexander. Alexander's our pitcher, but again, this is why we got rid of the pitcher. Also, this wasn't even the league where the pitcher hit. So how are we coming up with this mistake here? This isn't something that has not happened to the Sox. This was also what happened in Cincinnati in 2021, where Fegan then asks Tony, do you know the rules? And then Tony gets all scuffed up because Hendricks ends up running on second base. So it goes to the top of the 11th, and you think because Alexander just made the last out at the play, he has to be the ghost runner, but the rule does state the guy that made the out before the pitcher can run for him. We saw Hendricks run in that situation in 2021. So at least Venable knew the rule there? Is that woohoo?
Are we doing baby steps?
Yeah,
no,
thank God.
It's not a great move. Not a good look.
No, not at all.
But rookie manager, you think he's not going to make a mistake all season? I don't know.
No, and hey, you know what? Let's talk about Sunday. The Sox do lose 2-1, but I absolutely loved what I saw in the bottom of the first. Civale issued 3 walks with quotations around them because the first one wasn't a walk and the second one wasn't a walk, and I don't think the third one was actually a walk. I think it was just bad umpiring. And Will Venable let, I can't think of the guy's name now. I should have wrote it down. I was like, I'm not going to write it down, and I will write it down. We'll think about it in a second. But I think they listed the umpires. Anyways, Venable goes out and gives the home plate umpire an absolute earful. I love seeing the fire into passion, my friend, from Will Venable. He's now been ejected twice in his major league career as a manager, both on Mother's Day and Father's Day. So, hey, he gave his mom like a very kind of low-key ejection for Mother's Day, and for Father's Day, he said, "Dad, I'm gonna make Pops proud on that one." So great to see that from our guy Will Venable going out and defending his players. Love to see that after a kind of iffy day on Saturday. Bottom of the second, though, Garcia 1-out walk. Duran hits a 2-out RBI single, making it 1-0. Bottom of the fifth, a Smith infield single. Seager then singles. Smith to third on an error from Benny. Simeon then drives him in with the sac fly, making it 2-0. Carter to second, Seager to third, but then Civale Kaysberger to avoid any more damage. Then at the top of the sixth, his 10th of the year, Miguel Vargas makes it 2-1, but the Sox aren't able to add on after that. We will take a break here, and we'll talk about Jacob Gonzalez, Brooks Baldwin, and Aaron Civale after the break here on the CHGO White Sox postgame show presented by Bet365. We got to let you know about our friends over at Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake. They're kicking off the summer with big savings all month long. Come in today to shop the huge summer sales event and drive home with $10,000 off MSRP on new Chevy models. Check out their selection of over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000 as well. With one of Chicagoland's largest inventories, you'll be sure to find the perfect vehicle for you, and you could head over to their website and check out their prices right now, and the prices you see online will be the same prices you have in store due to the Ray's price promise. The price you see is the price you pay. Shop Ray Chevrolet in Fox Lake or at raychevrolet.com. They've been serving the community since 1963. Together, let's drive. We also want to let you know about our friends over at Empire Today. 588-2300 Empire Today. I've been doing this bit for too long when my family is like, "Why are you picking on Jake? You bring up Jake a lot in these big box stores." Again, if you don't want the help of my cousin or your buddy in installing floors into your home, you got to check out the experts over at Empire. They will give you that home floor advantage. Empire has flooring experts that are dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. You don't have to go put yourself through the torture of picking out the next floors that may be in your home forever. The people over at Empire can come to your house and they can show you samples that will look perfect in your home, and you can see them up next to your furniture and get a virtual view of what your home can look like with these floors. So pick the right flooring and right colors for your space. You can see how it looks in your furniture with your house. Schedule a free in-home estimate today with our friends over at Empire. Use code CHGO for a $350 off discount when using promo code CHGO. Head over to empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. And hey, we mentioned Fox Lake. You know who's from Fox Lake? Ryan Noda, a Volo guy. He went to some place in Fox Lake. Where was it? Yeah, he went to Grant Community High School in Fox Lake, Illinois. He knows about Ray Chevy. All right, go be a Ray Chevy guy, just like Ryan Noda. I don't know if I can we legally say that? I don't think Ryan Noda. Legally, I cannot say Ryan Noda equals Ray Chevy guy. Maybe they'll work on it.
We'll run it by it.
Community guy,
If he hits a couple dingers, though, it could change real fast.
Absolutely. We got two quick things from the comments. AOL Trial Disc saying the guy they got, Ryan Noda, is from Volo, a local guy. His first year with the A's, he was solid, 20 homer, 2 to 3 WAR player. He's gotten back to that ever since he's got to get back to that because he's struggled ever since. Yeah, I did write down again. Elko was sent down. They trade Vaughn on Friday, and then on Saturday they pick up Noda from Boston after he was DFA'd, and then they send Elko down to AAA. I'm not too upset about that. I think, honestly, too, gives Elko a little bit more of runway. Like, now there's no more Vaughn, and they could use a possible right-handed first baseman at some point. Maybe Lenyn Sosa doesn't work out, and once he's activated off the IL, maybe they don't like what they see, and they cut Sosa, and they bring back Elko. So, yeah, I wouldn't say it's the end of the line for Elko here, but Noda is an interesting player. As you mentioned, 2023, good year for him. 16 home runs, 118 OPS plus, a 2.2 B-WAR with Oakland. Again, nothing to write home about in the 2024 season for Noda. But the 13 games he did play with Worcester in AAA Boston, 3 doubles, 3 homers, 12 walks, 12 Ks, 378 batting average, 519 on-base percentage, 703 slugging percentage. Maybe there is something left there with Ryan Noda. I don't hate the option. It's not Andrew Vaughn. So I'm fine with that. And, if it's no longer Noda in a month and it's Elko again, I'm cool with that. I could also see them sliding over Vargas if Colson is called up. Maybe Colson just ends up being their third baseman. I don't think that they're really against putting Vargas at first base. So there's a lot of different opportunities for players. And, with Vargas hitting as well as he does, I think that it's possible that they just might try to move him over to first because he's had a ton of flexibility in his career where the other younger players, Teal, Caro, Montgomery, haven't had that typical flexibility. So we'll see what happens with this whole machination of the lineups. But Noda's an interesting pickup. I'm fine with it. Let's also talk real quickly about Civale. Victor Von Doom saying Civale has to be pitching nails from now to the deadline in order to have any trade value. I wouldn't say that. Sox could eat some of the $8 million or whatever that is left of Civale's contract. I don't think he is that, needs to be nails exactly. There are a lot of teams that are just looking for guys to go 5 innings, and Civale can do that. The Brewers ended up moving along from him because they got a lot of hits. There was one guy that could have been a Rule 5 pick. They ended up protecting him. I can't think of his name right now. Instead of Shane Smith, but that guy's been very good for them. Quintana has been very good for them. Peralta obviously been very good for them.
They called up Mizorowski.
They just called up Mizorowski as well, which moved Civale to the bullpen. So they kind of had a full rotation. I still think he had trade value. Like Vaughn is bad, but he had a squeak of trade value. I mean, the fact that they moved Vaughn for Civale straight up and even got some cash, I think shows you that, he had a little bit of something, a little bit of trade value left. Don't expect a top 15 prospect for him, but he could be a Tanner Banks-like pickup for somebody if you get a lower 15th round prospect for them. I know Bob Nightingale today in his newsletter said 2 prospects for Civale. Let's not get over our skis, but 5 innings today, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 4 Ks, 4 walks, and the big thing for him, Civale, 11 whiffs on 47 swings, 18 called strikes. Should have been more than that, too, as he got hosed in the first inning by the home plate ump. 28% called strike plus whiff percentage. Very, very good outing from Civale. And the big takeaway from him when they first picked him up was his ability to induce weak contact. 16 balls in play, an average exit velocity of 82.4 miles per hour. I love the Civale pickup. I don't know what his contract is after this year, so let me check on that.
He's going to be a free agent.
He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah. So that was the bit. He's doing it. He's walking into a free agent year. He's getting squeezed out of the rotation. He probably had some sort of non-verbal, not on paper agreement with the Brewers that he was going to be able to start for them. So the agent just went and said, "Hey, can we make a deal and do right by a player?" And this is his opportunity here. And yeah, man, you're right. Look, there's a lot of fringe teams that could use a 4th or 5th starter in a couple months that are maybe 4, 5, 6 games out of the wild card that you're not thinking about. And if the White Sox can get any kind of value back, I mean, what if the Dodgers still aren't healthy and they say, hey, we'll throw you a low Class A guy just to bring in Civale for a couple starts? They don't care, and the White Sox should jump all over that.
Yeah. Again, they have no attachment to Civale, and getting anything out of him is interesting. I think they'll probably are more likely to trade Civale than Hauser because Hauser at least gives you innings, and he's cheaper. Civale makes about $8 million. The one thing that I did say, though, on Twitter was that Civale should never throw a sinker again. Before today, 25% usage for Civale. I said that he should move to a 4-seam cut, slide, and curve mix. He also threw a changeup in his rookie year. He's now split that to a splitter. He did throw a splitter a little bit in 2025, but we look at the pitches used today. 29% cutter, 21% 4-seam fastball, 19% curveball, 15% slider, 10% sinker. So the Sox pick up Civale and cut his sinker usage by 15%. I don't know if that's a Civale thing specifically or a Bannister thing, but the fact that they are going away from the sinker and going more towards his his curveball and slider is the smart thing. Those are the pitches that have the best stuff. Those are the pitches that will actually get his swing and miss. You look at the outside swing rate. He didn't get a single swing and miss outside of the zone on his cutter. Didn't get a single swing and miss outside of the zone on his sweeper. Didn't get a single swing and miss out of the zone by a splitter, but outside swing percentage of 40% and 25% on his slider and curveball. So it does need to be a repertoire that is tweaked just a little bit for Civale to, I think, maximize his entire value. But then, B-Dams, who, shout out to him with the super chat earlier, threw out in the Die Hard Discord, could they package Civale and Robert together? But the issue with that, Robert's making 15. It's going to be prorated, right, to the actual time of season played, but like 15 million, half, like 7.5 to like 4 million. It's like $11 million to move.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot for a single team to take on. So I don't think that a Robert Civale package is going to be something that would maximize value for both of those players. Robert being traded on his own, and if they eat all that money, I think that's how they maximize his potential. In the 21 at-bats since his return, he's like 7 for 21, so we'll take it. I mean, like, Robert's looked a little bit better. If he looks better up to the deadline, I think them eating that money and then having a bidding war on just Robert the player, take out the salary, I think that's what would be best for business. And then you look at Civale too. I think Civale just being able to give any team innings is going to be huge. I mean, I'm watching the Cubs game next to Cody, and he's just looking at every single starter out there being like, hey, Cub. Like, I think that even teams that go out and make a big splash for a pitcher could even get some of these minor pitchers, because you never know what injury is going to happen. And if you're going for a postseason run, you'd rather have too many arms than not enough. And I think Civale will make himself intriguing enough to a playoff team. So I think you don't need to package them together to maximize value.
Yeah, not to be apples to apples, but you did bring up the Cubs. Just keep in mind, like White Sox fans, when you're talking about that type of package, the reason why you try and drive towards something like that is just keep in mind the Javi Baez and Trevor Williams trade a couple years ago got them back a guy like Pete Crow Armstrong. I'm not saying that quality of player is coming back, but when you can package and help supplant some other needs that a baseball club might need, maybe the prospect coming back gets a little bit better.
We heard Jed recently talk about that, and he was like, well, we asked for Beatty, and they say no, and we asked for Vientos, and they said no. So, I mean, it was basically, and they asked for everybody but Pete Crow Armstrong,
and Alvarez.
That was the only guy. So, like,
and all those guys graduated, though. Those guys graduated, though. I'm saying, like, you're picking, I'm not saying Jed Hoyer was so smart for finding Pete Crow Armstrong, but, like, if you can get yourself into a package situation, because no one remembers Trevor Williams was in that deal. So Aaron Civale, if he could possibly be the no-name extra piece and pitch well, I'm just playing this scenario out.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't, but you have to also look at who Baez was at that point. Baez 2.6 WAR in the 91 games before he was traded. So like that's a lot better.
We got till the end of June.
I know. I just don't want to. People are really up in arms about trades and trade. What's the value? We can't throw out that they're going to get a Pete Crow Armstrong like prospect. I don't know if that's realistic. I understand what you're saying, but this also isn't a video game. Like, you just can't say, oh, we have $11 million of guys that we don't want, so that means you're automatically going to give us a top 100 prospect just because, you know, the trade value meter has to balance out, right? Like, I think that a team that's taking on a chance with Robert, like, they're going to need to be talked into it by money being added, where, you know, the Sox can probably just move Civale's money. It's like $4 million for nothing. Like,
Are the Padres a type of team who's maybe a little strapped for cash and maybe trying to make some decisions? If they do push all their chips in and go for it, maybe then the prospect gets a little bit better in its value because you are shaving off some of that money in a type of deal that would go back.
Right, and I don't know if they could take on both Civale and Robert, right? They have like a ton of roster restrictions, and if they think that they could go over the top with Robert, it's being paid for. Maybe they're a little bit more aggressive with their prospects. So I'm a little bit iffy about packaging those guys just because I don't think it will work like a video game how you'd actually think you'd want it to work out. But that's going to do it for the CHGO White Sox podcast. Brooks Baldwin has been called up. I thought that was a little bit interesting. They DFA'd Palacios. I don't understand why we had to watch Palacios for this long. I don't understand why we have to watch Vinny Capra for this long. And if they've, you know, kind of exposed us to them for this long, I'm kind of surprised they just are ending it. I thought they wanted to get Brooks a little bit more run in AAA in the outfield, but, you know, he's up here. So that's all we could say about that.
He was hitting third like a week ago.
Right. And then finally, Jacob Gonzalez in AAA since May 17th, 26 games, 7 doubles, 1 triple, 4 home runs, 30 hits, 8 walks, 10 Ks, 319 average, 371 on base percentage, and a 553 slugging percentage at Not Cease, mentioning that is about the time, May 17th, when Gonzalez switched to a torpedo bat. So we are seeing the fruits of that labor pop up in the past 26 games from Jacob Gonzalez. And George Wilco just hit a home run in the Kannapolis Cannonballers game. That's his 8th of the season. And in June this year, not including today's game, 410, 489, 641 slugging, 3 homers, 6 hits, 5 walks, 5 Ks. Yes. Let's wrap up this show. Thank you to Bet365 for presenting this show. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary with our friends over at Bet365. Use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Thank you to Joey Christopoulos for producing the show. Thank you to you for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Go hang out with your dad and tell your dad that you love him and that he's your best friend and that he rules. All right, I'll go see my dad now. How about that? All right, we'll go see our pops. Goodbye. I'll see you on Monday. Tuesday.
We all silly like the mayor.